Welcome to the Elizabeth Chance Podcast, also known as Busy Living Sober. Busy Living Sober. I'm so excited for this morning. It is episode 378 with Dr. Rosa. Before we go any further, we got to give a shout out to SoberLink. Getting sober is a lifestyle change, and sometimes a little technology can help. Imagine a breathalyzer that works like a habit tracker for sobriety. SoberLinks helps you replace bad habits with healthy ones, weighing less than a pound, and is compact as a sunglass case. SoberLink devices have built-in facial recognition, tamper detection, and advanced reporting, which is just a fancy way of saying it'll keep you honest. On top of that, results are sent instantly to loved ones to help you stay accountable. I've been a recovery coach for a really long time, and I can't think of a better tool to help people rebuild confidence and trust. Go after your goals. Visit www.soberlink.com/BLS to sign up and receive $50 off your device. Thank you, SoberLink. Okay, I'm really excited. I have a bunch of questions for you.
Yeah.
So let's start at the very beginning. Are you an MD or a DO?
I am actually a DNP.
And what is that?
So a DNP is a doctorate of nursing practice. So when I started, I've been in healthcare for over 20 some years now. And when I started off as a nurse aide. So they're known by different things like STNA, CNA, nurse aide. So that's where I started off, and then I went and got my LPN after a few years, and then I went and got my RN associate's degree, and then I went and got my bachelor's, and then once I had my bachelor's for a while, I decided I want to go on to get my doctorate. So I went on and got my doctorate, and I got a nurse educator certificate at the same time. And the last 10 years or so that I practiced at the bedside in hospitals, I was doing travel nursing and clinical and residency. I did all cardiac, critical care, open heart, dialysis, heart-lung unit. Was my jam for like the last 10 years. So that's kind of when I go to teach, because I also teach at the university as well. I teach nursing students. So when I go teach, that's kind of my specialty area, is the critical care area. But we see high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, dialysis, all these cardiac problems. So we'll get into that, but that's how my, kind of career went and what I have experience in. And excuse me, I'm battling like a really bad cold today. It's so terrible. But what else was I going to tell you? I was going to tell you something else, but I'm sure you'll ask me.
And you've been doing all this while you have 3 children, 18, 16, and 6.
Yes. All 3, boy, girl, boy. My oldest just went off to college this summer, so he's out living his life in South Carolina now. So I have my 16-year-old and my 6-year-old, and they've always known mom to work and go to school. That's been their lives growing up, has been seeing me do all these things.
And you're with your high school sweetheart too.
Yeah. Met my man back in middle school. Oh my
gosh.
And we started dating around, I think it was like sophomore, junior year. We started dating, actually 1999, now that I remember it, 1999. We kind of made it official. And then we've just been together ever since.
I love it, because you're juggling everything. Look at you. You're a superwoman.
Oh, thank you.
What made you decide that you wanted to get into functional medicine?
It was a combination of things, but one part of it was seeing the patients that we kept seeing come through the ICU. I call them frequent flyers. That's kind of the term that we use in the healthcare space, frequent flyers. These patients that we would see come in over and over and over again for the same thing. And what I noticed was it was a lot of the high blood pressure, the type 2 diabetes, the obesity, the breathing problems, the kidney problems. It was all of that. And then what I also started to notice, which was really disturbing, was the ages of the patients I was getting were younger and younger and younger. We were doing open hearts on like 60 and 70-year-olds. And then it started to come down, and we were doing like cardiac casts and invasive procedures on like 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds. And I was like, this is just not good. This is not good. And then there was one day in particular, I remember I had an older woman in the bed as the patient and the family coming through to come see them. And I saw at this hospital, the visiting was a little bit lax. Usually we don't let children up into the ICU, but this one was letting kids up in there. And I saw little ones, like 3-4-year-olds, and I saw the entire family. And I saw the 3 and 4-year-old playing on the tablet, eating the chips, eating the stuff, a little bit chunky, a little bit overweight as a 3 and 4-year-old. Then I saw like their older brother or sister, and they're on their phone, overweight, doing the same thing. Then I saw the mom and the dad, and they're overweight, complaining about their high blood pressure and their type 2 diabetes and how their body's hurting and they can't sleep and they're stressed out. And then I saw like the aunt and uncle. Then I see, you know, like the mom, the grandma in the bed. And I saw the entire life cycle, you know, the whole family right there. And I was like, we need to make a huge change in how we're caring for people. I said, because this is the reason why we're getting these chronic generational illnesses, these cycles that we see in people, because we're just living this, we're just perpetuating this within our families. And somebody's got to do something about it. So I raised my hand. So that was one thing. And then the other part of it was really my personal health transformation that I had, because I was very sick up until my mid 30s. I was very ill. I was like 75 pounds overweight, pre-diabetic, high blood pressure, on a bunch of meds, went into heart failure after I had my youngest son, depression, anxiety, lumps and bumps on my thyroid. I had already had like a breast lumpectomy from a breast cancer scare. Like my joints were hurting. I was fucked up. I was really, really sick. And you would think that somebody in healthcare would like know better, but unfortunately, there are so many people in healthcare that are living very unhealthy lives, and that are very unwell themselves. But we're over here, you know, caring for other people and telling people to live a certain type of lifestyle, but when we ourselves are not. So when I came to that realization about myself, and when the cardiologist straight up told me, like, are you thinking about having more kids? And I was like, well, yeah, I'd love to have more kids. And she goes, that's a bad idea, because she said, your heart won't be able to take it. More than likely, you're going to die, your child's going to die, and no more kids for you. And that really was my rock bottom. That was my rock bottom right there. So I just was like, I have to save my life. I absolutely do. I've got 3 kids now. I've got this life that I want to live. And if I kept going the way I was going, I knew I was never going to get to where I wanted to be, because my family history as well was type 2 diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, cancer, stroke, all the things very heavily throughout my entire family. And I was like, I'm not going to be like that. That's not going to be my future. And so I made a decision to change and to save my life.
And what were the biggest changes that you made?
So the biggest one, and it's actually one that I talk about a lot when I talk about my program. And if you hear me and you watch some of my videos, you'll hear me mention SPICE, and that's kind of like the holistic framework, because I really had to take a functional approach to my health, right, getting to the root cause, but also a holistic perspective, a holistic approach to my wellness. And so I created like this framework called SPICE. And so it stands for something. The letters stand for something, but it also is a really great word because I can apply it to all kinds of things. But the S stands for spiritual, the P stands for physical, the I stands for insight, the C is career, and the E is emotion. And where I started was at the middle, at the I, because the I kind of anchors all the other things. And it was insight. It was self-awareness. It was accountability. I had been playing a victim role for so much of my life and blaming all these external things on my physical health, on my outcomes, on where I was in my life and why. And it was a mess. And so once I decided to become very self-aware and take some action and some accountability, that's when I really truly started to save my life, to change my environment, to change who I was hanging out with, what I was doing on the daily, what I was thinking, what I was, consuming, both, food-wise, but also mentally wise. The mindset part was so huge to my transformation. And that's usually the place where I start at when I'm working with clients privately, is is that mindset part. We have to get that part set and get you very self-aware, but also taking action on the things that you know you should be doing, but you're not doing. So we got to get to that. But for me, that's really where my transformation began, and I'm still working on it every single day. I'm still working on it.
And what kind of food do you eat?
So I'll say two things about foods that I eat. One is I practice intermittent fasting. That was a huge catalyst for me for lowering the blood pressure, getting off the meds, lowering my weight, getting more discipline around food. Getting more discipline around food, becoming more self-disciplined with myself, really honoring myself and loving myself. I was able to do that through intermittent fasting, but also growing my spiritual health. There's a very spiritual component that comes along with intermittent fasting. And if you just think about all these religions around the world that have been doing it since the Bible, honey, there's such a huge spiritual component that comes with fasting. And it also opens up all these other emotional avenues for you when we don't turn to food to cope with the shit that's going on in our lives. So that's a whole nother thing. But so intermittent fasting has been one huge thing. And also really just switching. I'm not a hater on any of those like paleo or keto or any of that stuff, gluten-free, whatever. Like if you're going to do something, but just stick to it. That's what I'm going to tell you. However, if you want a really simple approach, and the approach that I take is just eat real whole foods, a whole food diet, real foods, limited ingredient foods, one ingredient foods. If you can just do that and do nothing else, literally, if you're listening to this, just switch over to whole real foods, limited ingredient foods, one ingredient foods. So when I say limited ingredient, right, an apple is an apple. A pear is a pear. Like when you look at that label and you read that label on the ingredient list, is there only 2 or 3 things, or is there like 20 and a bunch of parentheses and a bunch of other stuff? We don't want any of that. One ingredient or limited ingredient foods. If you just switch your entire diet, and when I use the word diet, I'm using the word, I'm referring to your style of eating, because that's how we use it in healthcare. It's like a prescription. A diet is a specific way that you are going to eat. So the way I want you to eat is whole foods, real foods, limited ingredient foods. And if you do just that and nothing else, you will lose weight, lower your blood pressure, lower your insulin, lower your glucose. You will do all of that, lower your inflammation naturally just by switching to that. And I'm not trying to talk about being fancy and doing all kinds of other stuff. Just do that, and you will see a huge change in your health overall just by doing that.
Do you find, though, that it's kind of cost prohibitive to do that for a lot of people, because it's expensive to just eat, natural foods and organic foods and stuff that's, doesn't have a billion ingredients? I mean, you can go to McDonald's and maybe feed your family for a lot less than if you were to go buy a steak or a chicken and vegetables and all that. What do you think about that?
So a couple things I'm going to say about that. One is, I'm really going to challenge your mindset and your language around cost and expense and thinking that things are expensive, because when you think down the road, or you think about your children and you think about their health and your body, you are your best investment, and you are worth everything that you want to put into yourself and your body. And there's unlimited return on investment on your health and on your body. And the long-term cost, right, of eating McDonald's, of eating Burger King, is clogged arteries, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, type 2 diabetes, getting an arm cut off, getting a leg cut off. That shit's expensive. That's going to cost you. So that's one thing that I always challenge people to start to think about, especially when it comes to women. We have such a weird sense of what we're worthy on, what we want to spend money on, what we want to invest in. Like, we don't even use the word invest. Like, it doesn't dawn on you to think about yourself and your body and your health and use the word invest, but you absolutely have to start switching that mindset around that. So that's one thing I'll say about it. The other thing I'll say is, that it's not McDonald's and the hamburgers and all that other stuff. It's not really food. And a lot of that health food, and this is another thing why I say real foods, one ingredient or limited ingredient, because even if you think about, like, I'm thinking about Trader Joe's is in my head right now. A lot of their foods are organic. They have all kinds of cool stuff in the fridge, like pizzas and, little meals that you can warm up. And they've got all these pre-prepared things, and even like plant-based stuff, right? Is if you look at the labels are actually pretty long. And the reason is because a lot of these plant-based foods, while they're, marketed to be very healthy, they are extremely processed, these foods. It takes a lot of work to make the fake chicken. It takes a lot of work to make the fake, meat crumbles. It takes a lot of work. There's a lot of ingredients, a lot of manufacturing goes into that. And that's what makes those things costly, because it takes a lot of work to make them. So that's why those are, out of the price range maybe for some people. And another thing is they're highly processed. And my goal is for you to eat less processed foods. So even though it might be healthy, it's still very processed. It still has had a lot done to it. So I want to get you away from that and get you to real food. And I'm not even telling people to like do organic. If you want to splurge and do organic and do all of that, then go right ahead. But I can guarantee you, if you take away a lot of the money that you're spending at Texas Roadhouse and McDonald's and every other place, and you stop spending it on that, and maybe you allocate it to your grocery budget and buying limited ingredient, whole foods, real foods, then it's going to start to balance itself out. If you start packing your own meals and not buying out at work, if you start intermittent fasting, honey, you're going to be eating less food. So it balances out where you can really increase the quality. And that's what you want to think of, is the quality of the food that you're bringing into your home. I always talk about, one of the very first things I talk about is doing an audit of your environment. So looking at the things that are around you, and what are you bringing into your home? What are you surrounding yourself with? And this is, again, taking that very holistic perspective of your health. And if we're just going to look at food, there's many other things we could look at under this umbrella. But if we're just looking at food, what's the quality of food that you're bringing into your home that's available to you? So anybody listening to this right now can do that for themselves. Think about what's in your fridge, what's in your pantries, what do you got, what are you bringing into your home, what are you allowing, what are you choosing? And really auditing that, take a close look at that, and is there an opportunity to do better, to increase the quality? Because I guarantee you it will start to equal out, it will start to level out once you start making these changes across the board. So not impossible.
I'm going to ask you a really maybe stupid question.
No.
But I tried to do intermittent. I normally try. I don't eat anything till the afternoon, till like 1:30 in the afternoon. And I stop eating before 7 every day. My big question is, what about coffee in the morning?
Oh, yeah. So
with half a nap. If you have that, does that break your fast? Is that a big fast breaker?
So technically, there's a couple things I'll say. Technically, true fasting is 0 calories, 0 sugar. So nothing. So like just black coffee or just water. Technically, that's true fasting. However, there's something called dirty fasting. Have you ever heard of that?
I think I have, but go into it more, please.
So dirty fasting is a way where you can still consume foods, liquids that are going to kind of mimic fasting, but still give you the sensation, mentally, right? Because we want to eat and we want to drink, we want to chew, we want to do things. So mentally, we kind of need that. So dirty fasting kind of fills that space where you're still getting to eat and drink, but what you're eating and drinking mimics fasting. So it's going to be foods that are very low in calorie, low in sugar, or 0 sugar, things that are not going to really start your digestive system, things that are not going to, put your pancreas into motion and have a bunch of insulin being, produced and have your glucose rising. So there's certain foods, I'll give you a couple right off the bat, like cucumbers, pickles is another one. You can do things that are fat, things that are like kind of higher fat, like your half and half or your cream in your coffee. That's okay. I dirty fast all the time. It's all about finding something that works for you in the long term. And if you're somebody who is wanting to do longer and longer fasts, so like sometimes I'll do 36-hour fasts, some people do 72. Do this after talking to somebody, or if you're a practiced faster, okay, I'll put that out there. But on the regular, on day to day, like right now I'm dirty fasting. I've got my coffee here that has my cream and stuff, but it's nothing that's going to super spike my blood sugar or my insulin levels. So you can kind of ride that and do that. So that's a good way that you can still fast, but still be drinking and still be kind of enjoying things. It works good for social situations too, if you're trying to fast and there's things happening. So it works out for that. But dirty fasting is a really great technique. It's just kind of really knowing your body and paying attention to your body and how it reacts to certain things. Everybody's kind of different. So I'm really an advocate for, getting to know your body, listening to your body, and doing what's right for it. But dirty fasting will work for the majority of people, depending, on what you're looking to do, what you're looking to get out of fasting. That's another thing. Really examine or really know why you want to fast. Like, what's the reason for your fasting? And then you can really tailor an intermittent fasting program around that for yourself. You can have a little bit more direction, a little bit more clarity once you know that. And one last thing about fasting is many people think fasting is just not eating breakfast. I think that's like the overarching thing, is like people just think, I'm not going to eat in the morning and I'm not going to eat till lunch and I'm fasting. Technically, it don't matter when you start fasting. It's just as long as you have a window, a period of time where you're not consuming food, where you're fasting, where you're not consuming anything with calories or anything, or you're doing that dirty fasting. Because you want your body to have time to relax. You want your body to digest the food and to not be having to work to digest food all the time, because we're so used to, or we've been programmed, right, to want to eat every 4 hours, eat every 2 hours, eat a snack here, eat a snack there. And I mean, that's just putting your body into overdrive all the time. It doesn't matter how healthy, listen, it don't matter how healthy the food is that you're eating. The fact is your body is still having to work to digest and break down, metabolize, distribute, excrete all of that food that you're constantly eating. And so your body is always working, and it never has time to rest, relax, repair. It never has time to devote any attention to other parts of your body that need healing. And that's the key thing to think about. Intermittent fasting allows your body to have time to rest so that it can devote time, attention, energy, nutrient, resources to all the other parts of your body that need healing, instead of always just focusing on our gut and what we're eating and all of that. So there you go.
I have another question. Why do women, especially moms, maybe even other women that don't have kids, why do we always put our health and what we're doing for ourselves on the back burner, and we make sure everybody else in the family's okay, the partner, the spouse, whatever, we make sure they have food, the kids have food, they have snacks, they're taking care of them, and we're just running constantly and making sure everybody gets where they need to go, and we literally put ourselves on we're like the last person that we take care of. What is that about?
Why do you think that's about? What do you think?
Oh, I know. I feel like that, it's selfish. And, I don't need to take care of me. I need to take care of them. They're like more important. I mean, I'm changing that now at 55, almost 55. I realized that I have to put the oxygen mask on me first. But in the beginning, when my kids were little, that was not what I thought about. No, it was like, I have to take care of them. I've got to get them from here to there and everywhere. It wasn't about me.
So where did you learn that behavior from?
Probably from what I saw growing up myself. Generations of, my mom, my grandmother, that's.
Exactly. And that's why we do it. Because the people, places, and things, the environments that we're exposed to, our culture, our tradition, our religion, these are all the things that I address in my programs when I'm working with women, because this is the shit that fucks us up. This is why we're chronically ill. We're chronically stressed. We're running around doing everything for everybody else, not taking care of ourselves, and thinking that we're going to just be able to keep going and keep going and keep going, not realizing, and this is the different perspective that I have because I've seen the moms in the hospital beds, not realizing that if you don't, you're going to be in that hospital bed and somebody else is going to be taking care of your kids. Somebody else is going to be taking care of your man. And that's the reality of the situation. But we don't want to put our minds there. We don't want to go there. We can't even imagine that because we're so focused on the moment and we're so focused on other people and other things. And getting to know yourself, right? That insight, that self-awareness, getting really locked in on who you are and why you're doing what you're doing and where you want to go. That's what will really help you to break that cycle. I have a daughter, honey. I'm breaking that cycle with her, with my boys too. Absolutely, absolutely. And I tell my oldest son, I said, don't be out there finding no girl that wants to take care of you and is only focused on you and she's only worried about you. I said, you go find you a woman that got her own life, they got her own things, that she has dreams and she wants to do things. I said, that's the type of woman that you need to be with. He's 18. I keep it real with him. So we do. It's these generational things that we just keep perpetuating, and it's the emotional stuff. It's how we think about ourselves and our roles. And then it just extends into other things, like when I talk about our environment. Think about your home and how you have your home set up. Is it similar to what you experienced growing up when you were younger? I know when I'm gonna put myself out there, my business out here. When I moved into my home right now, like we've been here for like 16 years. When I moved here, this used to be my uncle's house when I was growing up. So I was here very much a lot when I was younger. And then when I moved in, I was a woman. I was a grown adult. I had 2 kids. I had a 3-year-old and she was 2, and she was like 6 months, not even 6 months. She had just been born, and we moved into this house. And I remember once we started bringing the furniture in and stuff, I started putting it in the same places that I remembered growing up. And I was like, what am I doing? But it didn't dawn on me, seriously, Elizabeth, till maybe just like a year ago that I had done that. Yes. That it's
so what did you do to change it?
Honey, I was throwing shit away. I was getting rid of stuff. I did, like painting things, just doing things, just like redoing everything. And it's never too late, I'm 41 right now. It took me that long to realize that I had just been repeating those cycles. And that's why I said, like, every day I'm always learning stuff about myself and why I'm doing things, and really examining and self-coaching myself and catching myself, because this shit is so subconscious. It's like jammed in there for years and years and years. And you don't know how deep it goes. And it affects every part of our life. And we set our homes up most of the times. We set our environments up to make it comfortable for us, right? Like we want to be comfortable, we want to be cozy. But that also tends to breed a lifestyle of convenience, of being sedentary. And that's why a lot of the women I talk to, like I have my watch here all the time because I monitor my steps and stuff. And like one of the first things I tell them is like, you need to get at least 8,000 steps every single day. And women are like, oh, that's no problem. And then I send them this watch, and then they start tracking their steps, and they're like, girl, I only went 2,000 steps today. And I can't believe it. Like they're horrified that they're only moving like 2,000 steps a day or less. But it's because we've created these nice little cozy cocoons, especially with everybody working from home. And most of the women that I deal with, like, we're on Zoom a lot of the time, or we're, going to meetings where we're sitting down or wherever. And it's like really examining and auditing every part of your life. And is it allowing you to be successful, or is it just holding you back and holding you in the same place? And we keep trying to change. I'm going to eat this differently, and I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to try this workout. It's like, no, girl, like your basic day to day is set up for you to fail. It's set up for you to fail. So we got to take it back and really take a hard look at what are we doing with literally our entire life and how we have it set up for ourselves.
See, now one of those watches, I wear those watches and I become obsessed. That's my problem. So I wear an old school watch now. Because I became obsessed. My husband would be like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm getting out of bed and I'm walking around our bedroom like back and forth, back and forth. I gotta get it. I gotta get it. I gotta get it. He's like, are you insane? I'm like, maybe. Yes, I am. But I would do that. I'd be like totally obsessed about it. I want to ask you, what do you think about all of these new drugs that they have for women to lose weight? Wegovy, Mounjaro, semaglutide. I mean, all those. What do you think of them?
So I'll put this out there. I'm not opposed to medication. You know, if somebody wants to go on medication, I'm not going to like shame them or anything. Like, it's totally your choice if you want to do medication. And I think there's a time and a place for medication. However, there needs to be a very clear understanding that this medication is not something that you can be on for a lifetime. There is no way that this medication is going to sustain you for your entire life, for 40 years, for 50 years. There is no way. So having a very clear understanding of that going in is one thing. Another thing is a very clear understanding that you absolutely need to change your lifestyle. You still have to make the lifestyle changes. You still are going to you are going to have to change what you're eating. You're going to have to change how often you eat, how much you eat. You're going to have to look at your activity level and what you're doing. So you have to do that. And once you like the semaglutide, like you'll get started off on a lower dose, and then they're going to increase it, and then they're going to increase it, and then you're going to be on that dose for a little bit, and then you got to stop. What do you do when you stop? Because this only happens over a couple weeks. This is what I want everybody listening to think about. This sequence only happens over a couple weeks, and then once you're on it, and then they stop you, it's like, oh, okay, maybe you did lose 15, 20 pounds, because that does happen. Oh, you lost 15 or 20 pounds. And so now you just go off on your own and you're just supposed to maintain this or whatever. And it's like, in those couple weeks, have you mentally become the person who is 20 pounds lighter? Because the person that is 20 pounds lighter thinks a different way. They do things differently than the person that was 20 pounds heavier. So has that time allowed you to mentally make the switch to being this other person? And most oftentimes, it does not. It does not. And people are coming back and then trying something new and coming back and trying something new. So again, I'm not hating on the medicine, but I want people to clearly understand that they do have to make changes and they do have to be able to sustain those changes in a lifestyle, because that's the name of the game. I don't teach anybody about hitting it and quitting it with what they're doing when it comes to your health. Like, you have to do something that's for the long term, that's sustainable. And a lot of these medications have some pretty serious side effects that go along with them, right? It's a medication. It's essentially a poison that you're putting into your body. It's not anything that's native to your body. So when you're injecting yourselves with these medications, there's a lot of damage that it can do to your pancreas. So we're watching lipase levels. So that's the enzyme that's secreted from your pancreas. We look at your lipase levels. We're going to see if you've had a history of pancreatitis. If you have, you're not getting this medication because it increases your rate of having pancreatitis. We're monitoring your blood sugars. If anybody listening here has investigated these medications and has seriously taken steps to want to get on these meds, if nobody's talked to you, if any healthcare provider has not talked to you about monitoring your blood sugars while you're on these meds, you better run and go find somebody else. You absolutely need to monitor your blood sugars while you're on these medications, because they affect your glucose and your insulin and how your body is producing these, because these are major contributors to fat production and fat loss. So monitoring your blood sugars, because these meds lower your blood sugar. So if you're somebody who tends to run on the lower end of blood sugar, you better really watch out for a hypoglycemic event, for a low blood sugar event, which can be very, very dangerous, very dangerous. It's way more dangerous to have low blood sugar than high blood sugar, believe it or not, because low blood sugar, it's very hard to bring it back up. We've had a lot of cases like that in the ICU. It's very dangerous. Like, you will die if you have extremely low blood sugar very quickly. It's hard to get you back. And also there is a mental health component where, again, if you've investigated these medications and if no healthcare provider has been like, oh, we're going to, every week you come in for your injection, we're going to monitor your health status, right? We're going to ask you, are you feeling suicidal? Are you having certain kind of thoughts? Are you wanting to hurt yourself? Are you sleeping okay? Are you hearing voices? Are you seeing things? If nobody's asking you this, run the other way, go find somebody else, because these medications have a certain mechanism where they can not be great for your mental health while you're on it. So not all fun and games with these meds. A lot of diarrhea, a lot of upset stomach, vomiting, nausea. There's a lot of people who simply just can't handle being on it, or they go on it and then they have to be put on like Zofran or something else as an anti-nausea med while they're taking it. So a lot of things to consider.
Okay, now we're going to pivot a little bit, and I want to ask you, what do you think about women and alcohol use?
Ooh, so women and alcohol use. I would say that alcohol consumption does not help your hormonal situation whatsoever. We'll put it like that way. I actually have recently had a huge influx of private clients who are dealing with alcohol issues and are really struggling when it comes to that. I think even for myself, it was kind of eye-opening that I really didn't realize how many high-performing women were struggling with alcohol behind the scenes to cope with their daily life, to deal with stress. I have not had anybody in my immediate family have any alcohol issues. I personally partake in alcohol every now and then. It's not a daily thing for me. It's not something that I've taken completely out of my life. At this point, there might be a point in time where I do, actually, because I know what alcohol does to you, how it affects your blood sugar, how it really inhibits your weight loss, how it contributes to a bunch of other imbalances in your body and really negatively, right, affects your performance and your cognition and all the things. So I would think that my advice would be for any woman listening that if you are consuming alcohol and it's more than a glass a day, to really rethink how much alcohol you're drinking and to cut back and to do it slowly. Do it slowly, cut back. And I would say one of the first things I would tell you is to really identify why you're drinking in the first place. Why are you turning to these glasses or bottles of alcohol every single day? Why? Really find out why. And that's where working with somebody, like I wouldn't suggest you to try to do this on your own. Really find somebody that you can talk to that can help you. There's plenty of people out there that can help you work through this, but really identify, why are you drinking this alcohol every day? Why? And then from there, create an action plan to decrease. And then really decide, do you want alcohol to be a part of your life, or do you not want it to be a part of your life at all? Because it's your choice, it's your body. So what are you going to do? And you can still be fairly healthy and consume alcohol every now and then, but on the flip side of that, if you're dealing with stubborn weight gain and you're dealing with a lot of hormonal issues and you've got some other health issues overall, like high blood pressure, diabetes, if you've got thyroid stuff, like so many other, liver, if you've got fatty liver, listen people, listen. If you're even if you're like 20 pounds overweight and you've been overweight for years and years and years, more than likely you've got fatty liver. And if you've never been checked for fatty liver, go to your doctor, go to your healthcare provider and say, I want a liver ultrasound, because that's how they diagnose it. Get yourself a liver ultrasound so that they can see how much fat you have around your liver and in your liver. Because your liver is the thing that is going to detoxify this alcohol that you're trying to drink. And if your cholesterol is elevated and you've got this fatty liver, you are setting yourself up for liver failure, liver cancer, transplant, removal, like lobe removal. Like you're setting yourself up for so many problems. Jaundice, where you turn all yellow. Like there are so many serious conditions that alcohol is going to be tied to if your liver is not functioning how it should be. And when somebody comes to me with fatty liver, I tell them right away about intermittent fasting. I tell them about getting rid of alcohol, and then we start doing some really great IV hydration to flush out all those toxins from your liver. and to really support your organ health. So I like to teach about end organ health. So we always want to talk about, I'm going to do this detox thing, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And like, you're taking all these pills and teas and all this shit when your kidneys are messed up, your kidneys aren't even functioning right, your liver's not functioning right. So no matter how many supplements you're out here taking, it's not going to do any good, because your liver and your kidneys are the things that are helping you break down and metabolize and distribute this stuff. So not enough people are teaching about this organ health. So what can we do to support our kidneys, support our liver, to know if our liver is healthy? Because people out here running around with fatty liver and don't even know it, and then don't even know how serious it is, because people just be brushing it under the rug. It's very serious. So alcohol, women's health, get your body into the best health possible overall. Optimize your wellness, and then decide if you want to consume alcohol after that, and how much and how often. It's really up to you, but alcohol does not really work in your favor if you're a woman over 40 especially.
Well, I agree 100%. Thank God I've been off of it since I was 37.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to circle back to a word that you mentioned in the very beginning, which I find to be very important, which is spirituality.
Yeah.
And what do you think about spirituality and God in our lives, and where our relationships have changed so dramatically in recent generations? I would say God's not at the forefront. Going to church is not at the forefront. What do you think about spirituality, and what would you say about it?
Yeah,
to
I love that
our
question.
Listeners.
I love that question. So for me, I was raised Catholic. And my kids all went to Catholic school. And actually, fun information, I haven't even shared this really with anybody yet. My oldest son, so we never baptized our children when they were babies. I was baptized when I was a baby, but we never decided to. And so my oldest son is 18. He's always been very involved in student ministry all through elementary, middle, and high school on student ministry. And so the other day he texted me from school and said that he's been taking some classes with some upperclassmen, and he's actually planning to get baptized soon. And it might even be at the end of the month. Yeah. So we get to see him on September 29th, whenever somebody might be watching this. But at the end of this month, at the end of September, we get to go see him for Parents Weekend. And he might get baptized during that week while we're there. And I was just like, oh my God. When he told me, I was just like, oh, my baby. So I love that. And that's his path, right? That he's chosen. I think it's so beautiful. So beautiful. And so for me, I'm not overly religious. I don't go to church all the time. However, I am very spiritual. Like, I'm very in tune to my intuition. I'm very in tune to prayer, to meditation, to connecting with energy. And it's something that I've actually been getting into a lot more recently. And when I talk about it in my practice, I don't really identify for any religion, right? Specifically, I teach and I talk about really just tapping into that higher power, whatever you might believe it to be. Because I know after the years and years that I've been in healthcare, honey, I have seen some miracles. I have seen some people that were not supposed to be alive. Like, we've seen babies being born. Like, every single one of us are a miracle. Like, it's amazing. It is absolutely incredible, the things that are around us. So to not believe that there's a higher power, I don't know how you can just not believe that there's a higher power. Like, stuff just is happening. And it's unbelievable. It's unreal. It's spiritual. And so that's really, when I teach and talk about spirituality, that's how I bring it in. And I think there's like a magical time when women start to be in our mid-30s and our 40s, where we really start to just really re-examine our lives. For most of us, our children are older, even though I've got my little 6-year-old, but that's becoming more and more common, right? Women are waiting longer to have kids now. I waited because I was in school and working and totally lost track of time. I was like, oh my God, 10 years passed and we hadn't had a kid. And so those times are changing. But I think even as an older mom, I love being an older mom. It's been absolutely incredible. I'm so much smarter now than I was in my 20s. But I think we become more introspective, and we start looking at our lives and what we're doing and who we are and where we're going and what do we see for ourselves. And it's like, we have kids going off to school, and so we don't mentally have to like worry about them. Like, I don't think I wasn't really prepared for how much my son consumed so much of my mental bandwidth when he was here living, and versus him at school. He takes up mental space, but not in the way that he did before. So now it's allowing all this time, right, and all this bandwidth for me to focus on other things. And I've been getting even more. I've always been very centered on my health and myself, but it's become even more so. My spirituality has been growing even more now that, he's gone, and now that my daughter's getting older. So it's all in how you interpret it, how you practice it. And I absolutely believe, absolutely 100%, because when I teach my nursing students, I teach them about spice, and I teach them about holistic wellness, and I teach them about bringing spirituality, whatever that might look like, into their practice and how they care for patients. Because I get students from every different faith, every different background, every different color, every different everything. And whatever you interpret and whatever you believe about spirituality, bring that yourself, that unique thing that you have and you believe, bring that into your practice and in how you're practicing and how you're caring for people. But also, and I always teach this, how are you caring for yourself? And bringing that spirituality into yourself and into your self-care, and really elevating that and really getting deep about that. Because we often turn to spirituality at the worst moment of the worst moment of the worst moment. And in reality, it's always around us all the time. And we just need to tap into that and be grateful and have gratitude and have love all the time, no matter what, and not really wait for those critical, catastrophic moments. It's how are you living every single day? How are you bringing that spirituality into your life? And how are you sharing it with others, just like we're doing right now with this podcast?
Oh, this has been an amazing conversation. I could keep going.
Yeah.
I could do this for hours. But I just want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you what you're doing for all the women out there. If you guys want to learn more about Dr. Rosa, there's going to be an entire description along with this podcast, where you can find her on social media. You can go to her website. All of it will be listed in the description. And I just want to say thank you again. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. And I hope you come on in the future again, because you've just been so wise. So many great things you've shared. And I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Sending hugs.
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
Love you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Love you too. Thank you for coming on. And everyone that's listening, thanks for listening. You got this. You can do this life. We're together. Don't think you're alone. Please reach out. Don't make yourself a stranger. You can always find somebody that will listen. And until next time, keep getting busy, living sober. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Recording stopped.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.